Hello students and welcome back to another English Solutions for Business and Life video. Let's begin. Today we're going to be covering Unit 9 for our elementary book. We're going to be covering the grammar aspect. We're going to be checking present perfect, the superlative form of adjectives, and the expression have got. Alright, let's begin with present perfect. Just remember that present perfect is used for unspecific past actions. For example, in the sentence, I've seen that movie twice. Let's imagine and look at this timeline here. This represents the present. This is right now. And if we want to mention that we've seen the movie 2 times, well, in this case it would have to be like this. We're not being specific on exactly when we saw the movie. Those 2 times. So instead of simply saying I saw the movie 2 times, maybe last month, I've seen that movie twice, because we're not being specific about when exactly we performed the action. Alright, let's go to the formula now. The affirmative. In the example, I have gone to Europe twice, we have certain elements that you do not forget, which are the subject, I, the auxiliary have or has, in this case have, the verb in past participle. Remember not to confuse the past with the past participle. Check those lists if necessary. And finally, our complement. To Europe twice. Now, in the negative form, in the example, he hasn't finished his homework, we simply put the auxiliary in its negative form, from has to hasn't. Why hasn't and not have? Because the conjugation between he and have is not he have, it's he has. Alright? And let's check our elements. We have our subject, our auxiliary in negative, in this case again hasn't, our verb in past participle, finished, and our complement, his homework. Now, if we want to make a question, don't forget that we only have to invert the order of elements here. So instead of you have been to LA, we're going to make the question, have you been to LA? Have you been to LA? Alright, so then again we have, after the inversion we have the auxiliary have, our subject you, the verb in past participle been, and our complement to LA. Now if we want to make an information question, we can say, what has he posted on your Facebook? What has he posted on your Facebook? Remember that if we want to make an information question, we need to insert a question word, and then we have the auxiliary, the subject, the verb in past participle, and the complement. Alright, let's look at another form. Well, not really another form. Let's look at another example. It's the same idea, but in all its 3 forms. Affirmative, negative, and question. Number 1. He has sent me 3 messages. He has sent me 3 messages. Negative. He hasn't sent me any messages. He hasn't sent me any messages. Question. Has he sent you any messages? Has he sent you any messages? And as you can see, we have the elements. We have our subjects here. We have our auxiliaries. Oh, I made a little mistake here. Let's correct it. Alright. Just give me a little second here. Has he. Alright, so this was, then again, our subject. This would be the auxiliary. And then we have the same verb in past participle. Sent, sent, sent. And well, the complement varies a little bit. depending on the situation and the context. Don't forget to ask your teacher if you have more, if you require or if you need more explanations. Now, let's move on to the next item, superlatives. And the superlatives, if you can remember from previous units, we saw comparatives, and they have three rules. They have three rules that I will just go over very quickly, and they have one set of exceptions. And let's go over them. In this case, the superlative is when we compare three or more items. Let's see examples here. Okay, well, we have the adjective form, the comparative form, and the superlative form. The original adjective would be cold. If we want to compare two things, we say colder. But if we're mentioning a third which has a prominent characteristic of the three or of the four, then we would have to use the coldest. If it's a adjective that has only one syllable, the ending would be est. Now, in the second one, important, if we want to compare two, we would have to say more important. But if we want to use a superlative, we would have to say the most important. In this case, there is no change in the adjective, but we need to insert the expression most. And don't forget, we normally do this with adjectives that have two or more syllables. The third example, happy, its comparative form would be happier. But if we want to use a superlative form, we would say the happiest. Why do we do this if happy has two syllables? Well, this doesn't matter as long as these adjectives end in Y. If all the adjectives that end in this letter would have to be changed, we remove the Y and we insert I-E-R. But in the case of superlatives, we're going to put I-E-S-T. And the result is the happiest. Another important thing you do not want to forget is that we have in superlatives, we always use the article the coldest, the most important, the happiest. We have a set of exceptions here which apply for superlatives too. I forgot to write which ones were which. Let's write them very quickly. All right. So in the adjective good, its comparative form is better. But the superlative form would be the best or the best. In the adjective bad, its comparative form is worse, and its superlative form is the worst. Don't forget this. It's very important to remember these two exceptions, especially because they are very common and used words. Let's look at some examples here. We have the third book is the most exciting of the five. Here we have our superlative form. The original adjective would be exciting, but we're mentioning that we have a group of 5 books, and this one, the third, is the most exciting one. Second example, her house is the biggest in the neighborhood. Her house is the biggest in the neighborhood. Then again, we have our group or universe in the neighborhood, referring to more than 2 houses in the neighborhood. And then we have our superlative form, which is the biggest. The original adjective is big, and since it only has one syllable, we change it to big, the biggest. All right. Now, let's check more comparisons here, more differences between the three of them. Example number one, we're using an adjective. Why? We only say, my car is new. But if I want to compare my car to another person's car, we have to use a comparative because we're only comparing two. And we can say, my car is newer than his car. Now, in the third example, we are talking not only about my car and his car. We're talking about a universe. What universe is that? The block, the whole area. So we need a superlative in this case because we're talking about two or more. Sorry, we're talking about more than two plus. So our example is, my car is the newest in the block. And here we have the superlative form, newest. From new, hold on. From new, we change to newer. And we finish, or we want to talk about two or more, we say the newest or newest. Then again, if you require more explanation, you can refer to your teacher in class. Okay, the third item is very simple. I'm not going to over-explain here. The expression have got. Don't forget that this is only an expression, and it's not really good or worth examining it too much. For example, number one. Sorry, let me go back. We use the expression have got for possession. Yes, it is an informal expression. We do not normally use it when we write formal letters or emails. We use it to express also family relationships. And we only use it in the present form. For example, she's got blue eyes. This is the affirmative. We're just saying that she has blue eyes. This contraction is not the verb to be, is has in its contraction form. Don't forget. Negative. I haven't got a car. This is simply another way to say I don't have a car. Question. Have you got any change? This is just another way to say, do you have any change? And if we want to express one of these ideas in the past, we are not going to use the verb got. We're not going to use it. We're just going to say, in present, we have, I have got a problem. But if we want to express it in the past, we only say, I had a problem last night. Why? Because this expression is not used in the past form. All right, let's recap a little bit on this. This is Unit 9 for our elementary book. We're covering the grammar aspect. We saw the present perfect, the superlative, and the expression have got. Present perfect only for unspecific past actions. We don't know exactly when this happened, so we instead of saying I saw the movie, we say I've seen the movie. Affirmative, we have subject, auxiliary have or has, verb in past participle, complement if necessary. Negative, subject, auxiliary negative, verb in past participle, complement if necessary. Questions, we make the inversion, the famous inversion I've always told you about. Have our auxiliary, subject, verb in past participle, complement if necessary. Question, or information question, we only put it in the beginning. What has he posted on your Facebook? Question word, auxiliary have, subject, verb in past participle. Do not forget these elements. They are very, very important when you express yourself in this tense. Okay, well, I gave you more examples there. We saw superlatives. They're very similar to comparatives, but instead of the ER, we change to the IEST or only the EST form. Comparative: cold, colder, the coldest, important, more important, the most important, happy, happier, the happiest. Study these exceptions very well. Good, better, and the best. Bad, worse, and the worst. Gave more examples there. You can check those twice if you need to. The expression have got to is for possession, to express also family relationships. It's a little bit informal, and it can only be used in the present form. Example: she's got blue eyes, meaning she has blue eyes. I haven't got a car, meaning I don't have a car. Have you got any change, meaning do you have any change? Past: I had a problem, meaning I had a problem. There's no other way to say that for now. Alright, I hope this was useful for you guys. Always ask your teacher for further explanation if necessary. See you in our next video. Goodbye.